Today represented the first opportunity for silverware in England this season. And in a game fiercely contested between first and second in the league, it's Manchester City who walk away with the first trophy up for grabs of the season. And what a way to do it. I think everyone went into this game really curious about how it was going to play out, because for the first time in recent memory, it was actually first versus second in the League Cup final. But both sides entered this game in such different form, right? Manchester City of late have really seen their season start to slip away from them, knocked out of the Champions League in devastating fashion, slipping out of the title race with 2 consecutive draws. Meanwhile, Arsenal starting to slowly build a real charge for potentially a quadruple. They look like one of the strongest teams in every competition, strengthening their grip on the Premier League, progressing to the Champions League quarterfinals, and both sides entered this final in completely different moods. And in the first 15 minutes, it definitely showed. Arsenal were actually the much better side in the opening exchanges. Huge opportunities at City's end, with Kai Havertz being denied by Trafford, and then Saka being denied subsequently 2 further times by the same man. It looked like after 15 minutes, this final was only being played by one team. To the point I was actually wondering, are City going to actually play today? Are they going to turn up? But I think after 15-20 minutes, City started to get back into the game. And although I wouldn't say they had too many opportunities in that first half, they at least started to make it a bit more of an even contest. And Semenyo in particular proving to be the real danger man for Manchester City in that first half, right? Constantly running at Hincapié, who I thought was a weak link for Arsenal today. But Semenyo really proved to be the difference maker for City in that first half. However, overall, the first half was a bit of a snooze fest. I'm not going to lie, bar that sequence at the start, neither team really went all out for it. I thought it was quite cagey, and we went into halftime 0-0. I would probably say fairly so as well too. Maybe Arsenal had the better opportunities, but on the basis of the first half, I don't think either side really did all that much. Now, the second half started, and all of a sudden, Manchester City just started pinning Arsenal deeper and deeper and deeper. And Arsenal really stifled City at times in the first half and in the first few minutes of the second, because the way they were defending Arsenal was so compact and so narrow that anytime City would try and play through the lines with Cherki trying to split it to Haaland or Rodri or Bernardo or Doku, Arsenal would just congest and make life so difficult in those tight pockets, right? Every single time you try and play a ball through, Arsenal have 2 players just closing the distances. It was really, really suffocating. But every time Arsenal would win the ball back, it would just go right back to City. There was no ball retention from Arsenal in that second half whatsoever. Good defending, sure, 100%. I think Saliba in particular was the standout for Arsenal today. And I actually think he's a bit unfortunate to be on the losing side, because I think he dealt with Haaland quite well. But everybody else, every time they would win the ball, it's like the ball would go directly back to Manchester City, and it just felt like wave after wave after wave of pressure. Not with much end product, I must say, but it just almost felt like one team was trying to play football, and the other side was more than content to just sit back, boot the ball long, and hope to get something either on the break or if they could get a set piece. It was really, really odd. But I think the side who were trying to play football today came away with all of the spoils. First and foremost, before I go to the goal, there was a moment in that second half where I think Kepa Arrizabalaga today caught absolute life. The ball is a fantastic switch into Doku, right? Goes through. Kepa runs out of his goal, trying to close down the distance. Doesn't manage to do so. Fouls Doku, right? Puts his arms on him, trying to stop him. But Doku evades him, and then has an open pass into Erling Haaland, where the goal is pretty much gaping. Now, Haaland is outside of the box. I'm not trying to say it's a tap-in, but it's a huge opportunity. And the referee blows for the foul, doesn't send Kepa off, doesn't call advantage, and gives a free kick to City outside of the box. I felt that was really poor officiating right there in a moment where I think he's got to play the advantage. Now, if nothing comes from Doku's attempt to pass, so be it. Then you call it back. But for him to give the free kick in that moment and not even send Kepa off, just straight up a free kick, for me was odd. I don't think you stop the play there unless it's a red card offense, which I didn't think it was. So I would have liked to see play go on. But what do they say? Ball don't lie. Ball don't lie, man. Because the guy who, even before a ball was kicked in this game, was amongst all the pre-game talk, and the guy who was amongst all the mid-game talk in that instance right there, became the biggest talking point of this game. Kepa Arrizabalaga. And by the way, he's got history of this, man. Kepa and Carabao Cup finals. He has history. We all remember all those years back in his first season under Maurizio Sarri, when Kepa refused to come off the pitch for Sarri. looking, I think, to bring on Caballero in that game. He literally told his coach, I ain't trying to hear it. F off. Like, basically told him, I'm staying on the pitch. City would end up winning that Carabao Cup final. Then you cast your mind back a few years later for Chelsea in a penalty shootout against Liverpool. Liverpool, I think, scored 11 straight penalty kicks. Kepa failed to save a single one before ballooning his attempt over the bar to lose the game for Chelsea. Liverpool won that Carabao Cup final. And today, given the nod, given the go-ahead at the start of the game for Arsenal, he's been the goalkeeper for this entire run. But one moment of madness was ultimately enough to open the floodgates and cause Arsenal to go 1-0 down. Cherki on the right-hand side, a hopeful ball into the box. All Kepa had to do was put his arms up, catch the ball, claim it, fall to the ground, and start play for Arsenal. And yet he has fumbled the easiest cross he will have to deal with in his life. It's a moment that at this level is just, it's scarcely believable that Kepa has made that error. I mean, it's believable because you know he has the capacity to make boneheaded mistakes like this. But you just think to yourself, a goalkeeper playing for Arsenal Football Club in a final in England is making a mistake like this. How? How can you make a mistake at this level? But that's Kepa for you, man. That's Kepa. And it was an open goal for Nico O'Reilly to more than happily take. I mean, he was probably thinking, what's my luck, man? I'm literally in front of goal. Kepa has made a mistake you don't see most goalkeepers at this level ever make. And he has an open goal at his mercy. 1-0 for Manchester City. But I think we have to talk about the decision to start Kepa. Because as we know, right, it's customary for teams to trust the goalkeeper that got them there in their cup run. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if for goalkeepers like Kepa, it's probably even written in his contract when he signs for the club that if they are to go far in the Carabao Cup, he's going to be the backup, the deputy to Raya in the Premier League. He's never going to play in the Prem, but in the Carabao Cup, he will probably be given that run. I think it's probably even written in his contract, or at least gentleman's agreement, right? So it makes sense that the goalkeeper that gets you to that point will therefore be given the go-ahead. Similar to James Trafford today for Manchester City. He was the goalkeeper for City's run. He's entrusted to play in the final. I think the difference between Donnarumma and Trafford and Kepa and Raya is that Trafford was initially signed to be Manchester City's starting goalkeeper. He was entrusted from the beginning to be City's starter. And then Donnarumma became an opportunity on the market that they felt too good to turn down. He is still, in their eyes, a good enough goalkeeper to start for City. Kepa was never brought in to be Arsenal's starting goalkeeper. He was brought in to be the deputy. So because of that, if, contrary to what I said, it isn't written in contract that he has to play in the Carabao Cup, should Arteta have gone with Raya today? It's a final. It's up against City. Should he have gone with Raya? I'll tell you what, I remember a few years back when Lunin basically brought Real Madrid all the way to the Champions League final. He was integral to their run. But in the final, when Courtois was fit, hey, boss calls were made. The better goalkeeper started, and Courtois had a fantastic performance as Real Madrid won the Champions League. And I remember, I think it was Camavinga who told us at SDS, hey man, at Real Madrid, they don't care. There's no sympathy there. The best goalkeeper plays. Everyone knew how good of a job Lunin did to get them to that final. But at the end of the day, Real Madrid don't play finals to participate. They don't play finals to appease to anybody. They play finals to win. And in that moment, they felt Courtois gave them the best chance to win. And they were proven to do so. It might be hindsight speaking here. It might be. It might be very easy to say now that Kepa shouldn't have played that final. But I'm not going to lie, man. I think he, as a goalkeeper, has enough of a reputation now that in big moments, I think something like this was always plausible. That might be easy to say now, but I just think he's done it enough times now to show that today was not a one-off. But 1-0 down, and I think deservedly so at that point, because the second half felt like it was all Manchester City. And I think in this moment here, you're looking for a response from Arsenal. You're looking for some kind of mentality shift, because it felt like they were just too happy to sit into their block and accept that the game was out of their hands and, just bide their time, defend, and then hit with their own attack. But I don't think in a final you can really play like that, man, especially against a team like Man City who have the attacking quality that they have. And in the second half in particular, I said Semenyo in the first half was the standout for City. In the second half, obviously O'Reilly grabs the goals, but I think Doku was the real driving force for City in that second half. Because up against Ben White today, that was a change because Timber was obviously injured that I don't think was highlighted enough. Timber's one of the best 1v1 defenders in his position in the game. Ben White has always, for me, been a liability 1v1 defensively. I remember Marcus Rashford used to shred this guy to pieces. And Doku in the second half absolutely took the piss out of Ben White today. Seriously, every single time he got the ball in that wide left position, looked Ben White in the eyes, said, allow me to have this dance, and ripped him apart so many times over. He was the danger man. He was the guy creating. And the second goal would come very shortly after. And although the first goal was a bit of a fluke from Kepa, the second goal was absolutely pure class from Manchester City. Doku cutting in off the left, attracting attention from Arsenal, dragging defenders into him, finding the spare man, ends up on the right-hand side with Rodri. Rodri has this cute little, he cuts in and then cuts back out and then plays it into Nunez. Really nice reverse pass into him. Nunez cross to the far post. This time there's no goalkeeping error. It's a pinpoint perfect cross into the path of Nico O'Reilly, who drifts into the box, heads it across goal, and it's 2-0 to City. And it's a fantastic goal. And it's a fantastic play from City. And again, it's fully deserved. That second half, guys, only one team came to play football, and it was Manchester City. It was, at times, the football on display from Ryan Cherki today, from Jeremy Doku, from Semenyo, from Rodri, from Nunez. It was just liquid. And they ran out 2-0 winners. I'm not going to bore you with the rest, right? Did Arsenal have a few chances towards the end? Yes. Calafiori might have scored. Jesus hit the crossbar. Calafiori also had an attempt off a set piece. They started to push once they went down 2-0. But I'm sorry, I just think for too much of that game, one team came to play football today in that second half. The other team came to defend and hope to get something out of it. And I think you have to look at Arteta and you have to look at a few individual performances from Arsenal. It just wasn't good enough. But I think you could tell from the word go from City, or rather maybe 15 minutes in, because like I said, they started slow. But you could tell today, Manchester City and Guardiola played this game with a chip on their shoulder. You can tell even in the way they celebrated that final whistle, the way Pep Guardiola celebrated the first goal, damn near kicking the hell out of the stands. Pure, unadulterated joy, almost anger on his face that they went into this game today and played it like a Champions League final. And I think City and Pep will have heard all of the talk, all of the criticism over the last few weeks that has built up around City, that has built up around Pep, and used it as fuel. They treated this game like a massive game. And before the game even started, I was talking to a lot of people on my own stream saying, I think this game is potentially just as big for City as it is for Arsenal. Because we all know Arsenal need to win silverware. We all know how important this game was for them. But a lot of people were saying for City, they've won this competition so many times, they don't need to win it again. It's not as important. But I think you look at what this season means for City. Potentially Pep's last year, already out of the Champions League. The Premier League is out of their hands. City don't want to finish the year trophyless. And I'm sure they don't want to lose to Arsenal. Newsflash, guys. Man City's players don't like Arsenal's players. And although they might have been very good friends at one point, I don't think Pep Guardiola particularly likes Mikel Arteta at this current moment either. All this talk about, I'm not going to give him any advice. I'm not going to talk about Mikel. What do you think Mikel is thinking at this time? I don't give a toss what Mikel is thinking. I don't think he wants to see Arteta win anything. Guardiola is a savage competitor. He might seem likable at times. He might seem cute at times. He's a savage competitor that doesn't want to see his opponent even get a sliver of an advantage over him. And the way they celebrated that trophy at full time, I think tells you everything about the mentality that Man City played this game with. That was one of the best performances Man City had put on all season. And it came in a Carabao Cup final. Rodri, today, rolled back the years. That is a classic Rodri performance. One that we might not have seen that much this season. Bernardo Silva next to him. An absolute hound on and off the ball. You talk about big games, you talk about Bernardo Silva. I'm not going to lie. I was critical of Bernardo across the Madrid tie. I thought, hey, this is maybe the sign that you have to move on from at the end of the year. And maybe you still have to. I'm not going to pretend that this changes his entire season. But in big games, Bernardo comes alive. And he came alive today, man. So good on and off the ball. I look at the fullbacks. O'Reilly speaks for itself. Man of the match performance. What a year the kid is having. But Matheus Nunes on the other side, unbelievable. Talk about the center backs. We talked about the injuries that Arsenal had today. No Eze, no Timber. Big losses, admittedly so. I won't deny it. But when you look at the injuries that City had at center back today, how Arsenal did not capitalize on Guehi being out, Diaz being out, and Vardiol being out is so poor, man. But on the other hand, how good was Kusanov again today? Faultless. Ake, in the wilderness, in the dark, all year long. Bar that whiffed clearance at the start. Didn't put a foot wrong today. I look at the attack. Semenyo on the right. Gave Hincapié hell. Doku on the left. Gave White hell. And Ryan Cherki. What an absolute joy of a footballer. What an absolute joy of a footballer. This guy just creates magic with every touch. I love him, man. I love him. I will always be unapologetic about how much I rave about this player. Because this is what the sport's about. A magician, a maverick in every sense of the word. And those little kick-ups that he was doing after 70 minutes that Pep Guardiola got annoyed at. look, I understand why Pep gets annoyed at it, right? Because Pep is in the business of winning. He doesn't want to give his opponent, like I said, even a sliver of an advantage. And he probably thought in that moment, Cherki, the game's not won. Don't infuriate Arsenal. Don't piss off Arsenal. Don't give them a reason to want to get back into this game. But for a neutral fan like I am, I'm sorry, guys. I'm here to be entertained. I'm here to be wowed. I'm here to be filled with joy when I watch football. And this guy gives me joy when I watch him play. The kick-ups for me were like a cherry on top of a great performance from him. And the ball retention in the corner, the ability to slow down the game at times, the ability to just put his studs on the ball and get his team up the pitch. He just relieves pressure so many times. And this is a big FU to everybody who said that Cherki couldn't do it in high-intensity games. I've heard so many times that Cherki's only good against tired legs or Cherki's only good against smaller teams. Cherki's been one of the best players on the pitch at the Bernabeu this season. He was one of the best players on the pitch in the Carabao Cup final this year. This guy, I honestly think Pep sabotaged his own season by not playing him as much in the last few weeks. I went on SDS and I said it. I have no idea why Pep has just left Cherki completely on the bench. I have no idea. Going to the Bernabeu and playing Semenyo in the 10. Semenyo's a great player. But Cherki has to be the attacking midfielder pulling the strings for this team. And today, in my opinion, showed you why. I think the only player today from City that maybe didn't play a great game was Haaland. And I think, yeah, tough, man. He was up against Saliba and Gabriel. Saliba, I honestly thought, wow, what a performance from him. But outside of Haaland, I think everyone else today from City played damn near a 10 out of 10 game. They were so good. They were so fired up. And they put together a great team performance. But now for Arsenal, man. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It isn't, because their season is so much more than just the Carabao Cup. Of course, means that the quadruple hopes are dead. Even though, look, I know it's not Arsenal fans pushing this narrative about the quadruple. I know it's the media. But every year, the media looks at who the favorite to win the Premier League is, and they almost always hit them with, oh, could they win the quad? Last year, it was, could Liverpool win the quad? The year before, it was, oh, can City win the quad? The year before, it's every year, it's like the quadruple. There's a reason why the quadruple's never been done. Because it's extremely difficult to do. To be perfect an entire season in every competition is unheard of. But also, to then give quadruple aspirations for a team that hasn't even won one trophy yet in the season. It feels stupid. I'm not going to lie. And this is just another example of why. To win the quadruple, guys, let a team win 2 trophies and then have 2 more to play. Then you can think, okay, wow, they're really in for it. But to do it when a team hasn't even won anything yet, it doesn't make any sense. And honestly, it probably just adds more pressure onto a team than they even want. But their quad hopes are dead, if you want to say that. And I think that the objective for Arsenal has to be the Premier League. That has to be it. It's do or die for them. And I think they're going to win it. I think City have slipped up too much in the last few weeks. Although, never say never. But I think it's in their hands. But if we just look at this game in isolation, I think still, if you're an Arsenal fan, you have a right to be really, really annoyed at your team today. Because all season long, you've heard so many criticisms of Arsenal this season from media members, from pundits, from ex-players, from rival fans about Arsenal being anti-football and Arsenal being bad champions. And Paul Scholes going as far as to say the Premier League shouldn't even award a trophy this year. And I've been pretty consistent in my thoughts that I think that's all just hating. I think Arsenal are by far and away the most hated team I've ever seen in my life. Like, I get their fans can be annoying. I think all fans are annoying, to be honest with you. I think no matter where you look, fans can be annoying in their own right. Man United fans can be annoying. Liverpool fans are annoying. Every fan base is annoying if you look hard enough. But I genuinely think the hatred towards Arsenal this season is so disproportionate to reality. Like, I've never seen anything at this level. But a lot of talk has been about Arsenal being anti-football and Arsenal not playing the best style of football and this and that. And I think a lot of it is misguided. But today, I'm not going to lie, man. I think Arsenal gave their critics so much firepower, so much ammo to hit at them for the rest of the year. Because that second half was so meh. It was just underwhelming. Really? That's how you play a final? I don't know, man. I'm left really just underwhelmed and disappointed. That's the big word for me, because you're looking at the 2 best teams in the league this year. That's who was playing today. But on the basis of the performance today, bar the first 15 minutes from Arsenal, only one of those sides today looked like a team that were in the top 2. You wouldn't be able to tell if you woke up from a coma today that Arsenal are going to win the Premier League, because that performance didn't suggest anything about it. And I just think, I know some Arsenal fans are going to say, look, it's just the Carabao Cup. This is the least important trophy of the season in comparison to the other 3. And I get it. You're not wrong. The Carabao Cup, if you talk about silverware being a currency in football, the Premier League is worth £100. The Carabao Cup is worth like 10 cents. I get it. But I still think that every final that you're in, every tournament that you compete in, is an opportunity to win. You have to look at it that way. And every time you don't win, you've wasted an opportunity. Arsenal have not won enough in Mikel Arteta's reign as manager to be able to just disregard trophies. And I think he'll know that as well too. I think this missed opportunity will sting Arsenal. I think it'll sting their players and it'll sting their manager. And you just have to hope, if you're an Arsenal fan, that they use it as fuel to kind of go again for the rest of their season. Because although it's the Carabao Cup, you want to get one over City. You want to get one over them. And you want to secure that first trophy. Because as I've said numerous times this season, sometimes the Carabao Cup has proven to be what actually spurs on teams' further success throughout the year. I think back to Mourinho's Chelsea. The Carabao Cup was the first one he won en route to winning numerous Premier League titles. Even in his return, I look at Sir Alex in 2006. The Carabao Cup was almost the first trophy his team needed to win to feel like what it takes to win, en route to then winning Prems and Champions Leagues and FA Cups. City, Pep Guardiola's City era starts with the Carabao Cup. Why do you think he takes it so seriously? Because that's the first trophy his team ever won, en route to this unbelievable era that they've had. So although the Carabao Cup is not the Champions League, it's not the Premier League, it's not even the FA Cup, it's still an opportunity to win silverware. And I think it's an opportunity that Arsenal have completely let past them. And I think it's only their fault. I think the way they came out in the second half was so disappointing. I think the way they reacted to the first goal was so poor. I think Mikel Arteta's substitutions were untimely and I think a bit confusing at times as well too. And I'm sorry, I don't want to scapegoat anyone directly because I think there's a lot of bad performance from Arsenal today. I look at Zubimendi, and at times you're asking for Arsenal to just have a player get on the ball and slow things down. Similar to what Cherki did, what Rodri did today. Zubimendi is meant to be the technical enforcer in deep midfield that gets on the ball and controls a game. And it's yet another big game that I feel has completely bypassed Zubimendi. I look at the wingers, Trossard and Saka, so ineffective again today. Saka has had such an underwhelming season, and it's another game where you're looking at him. He's wearing the armband today, for God's sake. What's his impact on the game, bar his chances missed in the first half? It's little to none. The decision to bring in Havertz in the number 10 position made sense, I guess, because Eze is out, but he really didn't offer too much. And then I'm sorry, I'm going to look at the striker today because I gave him his credit for scoring against Everton because that's a real poacher's finish. But in moments like this, man, Gyökeres is completely ineffective. Completely ineffective. And I just think at times today, Arsenal are under the caution that second half. Arsenal are being hit by wave after wave after wave of pressure from City. They need an escape. They need an outball. They need someone to relieve pressure for them. Where is Gyökeres? Gyökeres today played against Kusanov and Nathan Ake. And that's nothing against the two of them. I told you guys the other day, I think Kusanov is underrated. But if I'm a striker and I see Diaz out, Vardiol out, and Guehi out, you have to look at that as an opportunity. That's City's three main center backs out. You're Arsenal's main man up front. That has to be an opportunity that you sniff and take with both hands. And today, Gyökeres was completely non-existent. He was non-existent in his ability to press and win the ball high up and force mistakes. He didn't cause any mistakes from City. He was ineffective in his ability to get on the ball and run at players. He was completely ineffective in that sense. He was ineffective in terms of holding up the ball and getting his team up the pitch. He didn't get on the end of any chances. He didn't threaten their backline in behind. He offered Arsenal absolutely nothing today. Nothing. And I think ultimately, that's what Arsenal was missing today. I think they were missing that focal point up front. And again, people will say I'm a Gyökeres hater. But I'm sorry, guys. I don't have agendas against players. I continue to tell you guys this. There's no reason for me to hate a player or dislike a player or think a player's not good enough for no reason whatsoever. I'm just being honest with what I see. Gyökeres isn't good enough. He's not good enough. You can say players like Zubimendi are underperforming or Eze was underperforming, but Gyökeres is just not the level of an Arsenal center forward. I'm going to... If Arsenal win the Premier League with this guy up front, it's a huge credit to Mikel Arteta. Because I just don't see it with him, man. I don't see a top number 9. I don't. I see an average number 9. And I think today they severely missed someone up front that could just hold on to the ball and relieve pressure a little bit. Just get them up the pitch. But it's almost a dead end every time you play it to him. That's where I stand on him. I'm surprised he completed 90 minutes today. I'm really shocked. But ultimately, you have to say huge congratulations to Manchester City because they fully deserved it. And for Arsenal, it's a huge opportunity missed. And it's a really, really disappointing performance. Because in that second half, it only really felt like one team was playing. Now, it's their job to get back on track, get back to winning ways. I don't think they play another Premier League game for 3 weeks or so because obviously international break is happening and then FA Cup is the week after. There's still a lot to play for in the season for them. This is not a disaster by any means. Like the season is not over for them. I think it would actually been more disastrous if City had lost because then you only have the FA Cup to play for. But it is a wake-up call that you've had an amazing season to this point. The job's not finished. And that stands for the Champions League and the FA Cup because the Premier League, the job's almost finished, right? Although they can't mess up from here. The job's almost finished. But this is really a wake-up call for them in terms of the Champions League and the FA Cup. Yes, they've had a great run in the FA Cup so far. Yes, in the Champions League, they've been damn near flawless. But this is just a reminder that there are still top teams left in these competitions for them. And they will have to be much, much better than they were today. Otherwise, performances and results like this, they're not exempt from them. You know what I mean? These are very capable of happening to Arsenal. And today's a really, really bad day for them. But that takes nothing away from City, who I thought played a fantastic performance today and fully deserving winners of the Carabao Cup today. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Pep Guardiola. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like, share, subscribe. I'm off to watch the Madrid derby in the next 30 minutes, and I'll see you very, very soon.